So an action? Yeah. Okay, so what we do now is, yep. Okay, CAO, Mr. McDonald, your show?
To start? Yep. Thank you, your worship, members of council.
Line them up.
I will kind of break down the budget discussions that are shown as a general item in the agenda into four pieces. What I'd like to do tonight is budget introduction, review of the new initiatives included in the budget, talk briefly kind of about excuse me, some of the budget pressure points that we're facing, and lastly, to finish this evening's meeting, talk about capital projects. Excuse me. So to introduce the budget, your worship, in December of 2022, council provided staff with a directive to draft 2023 budgets so that the total levy increase did not exceed 5% over the previous year's budget. Your worship and council, I'm pleased to present and introduce the 2023 budget and spending plan with a levy increase of 4.7% over 2022 and a tax rate increase of 4.58%. The budget is responsible, practical, and realistic, given the demands placed upon the township and the resources available, and keeping in mind the pressures placed upon the residents of Augusta. All managers and staff who contributed are to be commended and congratulated for their diligence in submitting a realistic spending program, and special thanks to the treasurer for putting the budget together. The tax dollars attributable growth in 2023 equal $55,800. So those are the new tax dollars that we're receiving this year as a result of growth over the last year. That, excuse me, the budget as presented represents $29.37 increase in taxes for every $100,000 of CVA, of residential current value assessment. The budget includes 1.4 new full-time equivalent employees, that 1.4 in Public Works. The budget includes increases included in the collective agreement, as well as economic adjustments to the council and non-union staff as per township policy. As far as pressure points go, your worship, members of council, just to highlight a few, council's budget has increased this year, and that is due to the fact that we have a new council, newly elected, and are attending conferences, sessions, and training seminars. So there's an increase in the council budget. Utilities, of course, we're seeing that at all our facilities across the board, heat, hydro, gas, etc. In the fire department, we see an increase in part-time salaries, training, and fuel. In Public Works, a significant increase in fuel, an increase this year in our dust layer operations, winter control, and removal of ash trees. Planning this year will see a full year of funding for the 0.5 admin assistant shared with the building department. The building department has no tax rate impact. It's a self-funding department via the reserve that council set up in 2022. So it's funded by permit fees, and if their fees don't meet their expenses, the balance is funded out of their reserve. In economic development, there is a proposal from the corridor of a potential $1 per capita increase. That hasn't been approved yet, but we have allocated in the budget those funds in case it does get approved. And further to the budget that you have in front of you, the library board just recently requested an increase of staffing of 5 hours per week in order to administer the recreation lending library at the Algonquin Library. As far as capital projects go, your worship, members of council, we are carrying over 3 projects from 2022. A plow truck for Public Works, the Diamond Road Bridge construction, which the tender was awarded in 2022, and renovations of the Public Works garage. Capital projects planned for 2023 total approximately $2.5 million. These projects are being funded via grants of $420,000, reserves of $803,000, and taxation of $1.365 million. It's anticipated that the balance of discretionary reserves, so those are the funds that are available for council to use as they would like, at the end of 2023 will be approximately $3 million. While reserves and reserve funds are often referred to as a rainy day fund, they do serve a critical financial need for municipalities. They provide for the replacement and rehabilitation of township assets. They provide for future liabilities. They provide a source of contingency funding for one-time and unforeseeable events. They provide flexibility to manage debt levels and cash flow. And they provide for financing annual deficits if the municipality would happen to have one. A plan to fund reserves to a fiscally responsible level is required. It's something that we need to look for. We need to look towards planning on an ongoing basis, especially with the approval of the asset management plan, which is expected shortly. So senior staff look forward to working with council to provide the highest level of service at the least cost of the township residents of Augusta as we go through the 2023 budget plan. That's the budget overview and introduction, Your Worship. And if council would like, I would just like to move on to reviewing and highlighting the new initiatives that are included in the budget.
Okay, I just want to say, thank you very much to the managers, your senior staff, yourself, CAO, the treasurer, for putting this all together. I know it's a long process. You started in August, and it goes right now to March. A little late this year, but that's fine. Anyway, thank you very much for your hard work. Yes, over the next little while, we'll be have our red markers out, and we'll be circling certain things. Don't take it personal. We have to look out for the residents and see the money is spent in their proper places. So, again, thank you very much. So, yeah, please proceed.
Thank you. So just briefly highlighting the new initiatives included in the budget. Council, as part of their strategic priorities, said that they would consider financial support for the new Prescott Recreation Complex, which is currently being built as part of the 2023 budget. So as a placeholder only, there is an amount of $75,000 allocated in the budget. It's placeholder only, as I mentioned. It's proposed to be financed out of a reserve, so there is no impact on tax rate. Again, any amount or any contribution is at council's discretion. There is $50,000 included in the budget to contribute towards the operating costs of the Edwardsburg Cardinal and Prescott Arenas. This was agreed to pre-COVID. Augusta would contribute an amount up to $25,000 to both of these rinks for operating costs, so that Augusta residents participating in programs such as hockey and skating would not be charged an additional fee. We are proposing, and included in the budget, is recreation contract staff. Again, an objective in council's recreational strategic priority was to engage with the community to determine current and future recreation and culture wants and needs. The tasks to complete this objective include a review of the 2017-2022 Recreation Master Plan and to provide a report card on the status of the recommendations, the relevance of those recommendations to current priorities, and to retain a contract employee and/or consultant to engage with the community, recreation associations, neighboring municipalities, and other groups to determine a roadmap for the provision of parks, recreation, and cultural services going forward. We also have included in the budget, Your Worship, the retention of a consultant to review the existing office space and recommend options to accommodate present and future needs to utilize the existing space that we have. In the economic development area, we have included a budget for promotional items to be used to promote the municipality by council, by staff, at trade shows, conferences, and public events. There's a public engagement module included as part of the budget, and this is basically a software program that would feed into council's objective of improved communications and customer service. It's a digital and service delivery tool that would provide a platform to engage the public and keep them informed of various programs and initiatives as we go forward. Council has already supported their continued participation in the River Route transportation system. Those funds are included in the budget. In partnership with Eversburg Cardinal and Prescott, it was determined that there was a need for additional positions in the South Grenville area. Each of the municipalities are allocating $7,000 per year to assist with incentives or attractions or other related purposes towards getting more physicians in the area. As previously mentioned, included in the Public Works budget is a total of 1.4 new FTEs. The 0.4 FTE would be an addition to the current 0.6 FTE, which is existing in Public Works. That would allow for one equivalent full-time position, and Public Works is also proposing an additional one new FTE. The business case is attached to the package on page 4, 5, and 6, I believe. And finally, we wanted to make council aware of changes in the OMERS legislation. So this is NFT, non-full-time employees. We are required to offer membership to all employees regardless of their classification. And of course, as council's aware, the township is required to match OMERS contributions of any employee who opts to join the plan. When we looked at all the employees who are currently not OMERS members, the township's exposure is $43,825. So that would be, if everybody that was eligible joined the plan, that's the estimate of what the municipality's exposure or cost would be. So given the small value that would accrue to NTF employees, we don't anticipate a significant uptake and therefore have not included any amount in the budget. Any cost will be financed through the appropriate department budget and monitored to see where we end up at the end of the year. Those are the new initiatives included in the budget, Your Worship. Members of council, happy to answer any questions.
Council?
Nothing at this time.
I don't know, I think they have questions, but I think the questions will come when they get into the meat of it. I just, I know there's questions.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how far you wanna go tonight.
I would like to get into the capital projects, Your Worship, at least get a review or an overview. The significant capital projects are coming from Fire and Public Works. And Public Works that covers transportation services, environmental services, and recreation. So I would like to at least get an overview of those projects, if we could, Your Worship.
On what page, that was on,
So it starts on page 25.
so on March 6th, we'll take it sort of line by line, is that your intent?
Based on my experience, Your Worship, my intent is never to go line by line.
Okay.
If that's what council wishes, we're in your
Department
hands.
by department, I should say.
That's, I like that, yes.
But, yeah,
Is there, could you highlight the ones that are not taking out of reserve, so an actual impact on this year's budget?
Yeah.
And that might help, because some of the stuff I looked at, but then it's out of reserves, so it doesn't impact this year's budget.
Right, okay,
Okay. Just as you're going through, mention that.
sure,
Thank you.
yeah, happy to do that.
okay, capital,
Okay, so, just the general government capital projects, your worship. A new key fob entry system for the municipal building. HRV system in this building, which does not exist currently, and there are some air quality issues. Computer replacement reserve. We started this last year, which is basically putting some money aside each year so that whenever we need to purchase new computers, we're not coming back to the table. We have a fund set up for that purpose. That amount of $2,500 per year is being funded through the tax rate, proposed to be funded through the tax rate. Software upgrades. We're constantly looking for ways to make our jobs easier. So it does require the investment of some funds, but there are software packages out there that will assist staff to be more efficient. A significant project included in general government is improvements and an expansion to the parking lot here at the building. We have run out of staff parking at the rear of the building, and the front main parking area has had some repairs and patches. So we are looking at expanding the parking lot to provide for more parking and make it a little bit more amenable to the public. Those funds are being funded out of reserve. So with that, I'll just turn it over to the chief, if that's okay, to review the fire department capital projects. And chief, if you don't mind just mentioning which ones are being funded out of tax.
Sure. Through your worship. So the first one is in-vehicle repeaters. We started this program last year. In-vehicle repeaters amplify the radio signal of our portable radios. They're critical if you look at any firefighter deaths wherever. Normally communications are part of it. And we have had instances in Augusta Township where we are literally 5 feet from someone and they can't hear us on the radio because of the way the communication towers bounce around. We had an incident in North Augusta at a structure fire where we wanted the firefighters to evacuate the building due to safety concerns and they could not hear me. And if you're ever in that situation and you have firefighters in there, we ended up having to go old school, and our training worked, so we ended up what's called 3 blows in the horn. You know, oh, that's what it is, and it worked. So that's one that is, and by the way, all the fire departments, I think there's approximately $60,000 in capital projects. They are all funded by taxes this year. The second one is a bunker gear drying cabinet. Again, we started this project last year. We bought the first one for Station 2 in North Augusta. We currently have a homemade drying apparatus that we dry our bunker gear with, and it can take up to 2, sometimes 3 days to dry our bunker gear, and while it's drying, our firefighters can't wear it. So, for example, we had recently a large fire in Prescott where we had lineups of, we had literally 20 sets of bunker gear waiting to be washed. Those firefighters couldn't respond to anything major. So these bunker gear dryers will dry, they advertise in 90 minutes, but even if it's 3 or 4 hours, it's still a huge improvement over what they do now. And lastly is PPE. So there's bunker gear, there's helmets, balaclavas, and boots, as well as coveralls. These have 10-year life expectancies set down by Ministry of Labor in Section 21 and by CSA and by NFPA standards. And these bunker gear, we're only replacing the ones that are going to be over 10 years old this year. The coveralls are a little bit different. Those coveralls, the coveralls that we have, we're on year 3 of replacing our coveralls to spread it out so it doesn't affect our taxpayers much in 1 year. So we bought 10 sets in the last 2 years. We'd like to continue that this year. Some of the coveralls we currently have at the station, both stations, were bought in the Fred Beauvair era. So they're well over 20 some years old, and any fire retardancy, anything they had, they don't have anymore. And these coveralls are what's called dual certified. So they're actually certified for the jobs we do. We use them for AutoX and we use them for wildfires. And I think there is in here also the loan repayment.
Yeah, the loan and the transfer to reserve, which are yearly.
Yeah, so the Station 1 loan repayment, that's a yearly thing that we have to do. And then, we're also, we have a vehicle and equipment replacement plan in place. I don't have the plan with me, but it's a plan that I've had since I became chief here. So we can replace our vehicles, so, in a timely fashion. And, we're asking to put approximately $140,000 away this year. We don't need any vehicles this year. Our capital, our request is actually pretty low this year. Last year, we had $220,000 for SCBA, and we also bought a tanker for over $500,000. So, this here is to build up our reserves for, vehicle replacement. One thing you may notice, those that have been around the table before, one thing we do not have this year is anything going to reserves for buildings. The last couple of years, we put money in reserves for buildings, not as much for Station 1, but eventually Station 2 will need to be replaced, and we wanted to start putting money away for that. However, with the budget pressures this year, that was one of the things that I have not put in our budget for this year because of that, because of the other pressures that the fire department has. So that was a product, I believe we put away $59,000 last year.
Any questions, comments, anybody?
Yeah, Chief Bowman, the first 4 items, there's nothing you can do about them. They're things you absolutely need. My question is, under a tight budget year, should we cut back the amount we put into reserves? What impact would that be if we cut it back to $100,000? I'm trying to look in the budget for a saving of maybe $100,000 to bring our tax rate from 4.54 to 3.54. It would be a little more in line with our other municipalities, and not saying it's all gonna come from fire, but I'm just wondering if we can't shave a little bit everywhere. If that's one item that wouldn't impact you.
Through your worship, it's one thing I can look at. Again, I don't have that spreadsheet here with me to tell you exactly how it would affect, because with the spreadsheet I have, I can make a change and it'll tell me. The issue is that we do have a tanker that we're not asking for this year. That will be on next year's budget, that will need to be replaced, and by the time we pay for it, it'll be in the neighborhood of $600,000. And probably take about 2 to 3 years to get. So I'd have to look to see, so it might just mean we can put more away next year, or when we purchase that tanker, there might be more of a lump sum have to be paid that year, so it is possible.
Yeah. Your worship?
Yeah.
Yeah, the question I have on that is, and it's not saying that money should be put in reserves, but we do have a pending sale of some land coming up, and I wonder if we can make a decision when that comes through, that we then top up the reserves to where it should be. And that would just make a budget implication that we're having a lower budget now, but we're spending money later that's coming in.
Yeah, but that money later is confined for another reserve.
Okay. It's not coming to council, we can't use it.
Oh, no, it's going in reserve, but not the fire reserve.
Okay.
So that's what you're asking, yeah. I mean, it's our decision,
Yeah.
but, it'll probably go in economic development, because it is land. Anyway, we can discuss it on Monday.
Yeah. Okay.
So through your worship, if we need to lower it, that can be done. My only concern is that when we have to purchase this tanker, because again, I don't want to get into the whole story about this tanker, but it's very similar to what we placed last year. We were having problems getting parts, so on and so forth, so I just want to make sure to plan ahead and have good fiscal management by putting money away, so that when we do need that tanker in 2 or 3 years, we're paying for it, then we'll have the money. So if that comes by us putting money away through our reserves or some other route.
One other question, Chief Bowman, I maybe it doesn't come under this, but your training doesn't come under this part?
No.
That's it, another topic.
Every time capital.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, anything else? I think the CAL is making notes as he goes along.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
your worship will review and kind of keep track, we'll keep a scorecard, and
Yeah.
then we can present the impact. So just, I guess I failed to mention just briefly that 1% equals approximately $56,600. So for every reduction of that amount, the rate would drop by 1%.
And just if I may go back to, general government, the parking lot, I assume that's just the one there, the office parking lot. How many spaces will we gain?
We really haven't, okay. 8 to 12, the manager of public works is
We'll
advising.
gain 8 to 12 spaces?
Yours, but I'm not sure if you're talking to me or.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at you, yeah.
Yeah, so in discussion with the CAO, we're looking at some redeveloping the whole area surrounding the township office.
Oh, I know that, yeah.
Okay, so, sorry, what's your question here, sir?
Right now, so for example, you got, say, 8 spaces out there. By spending $145,000, how many spaces will we have out there?
So you have approximately 4 to 5 more out back here.
All right. So I'm spending $145,000 for 4 more parking spaces? I'm just questioning.
So the intent, your worship, would be that we would expand the parking lot on the east side of the building and then run it all the way around the back of the building and then repave or resurface the entire
Okay.
front portion.
All right, so but only 4 spaces there. Yes or no, that's fine. I'm just asking, I'm not picking it apart, I'm just asking.
No, that's fine, yeah.
Question
Yeah.
there? Is there any way, if you're coming all the way around the back, there'd be room for any angle parking? Because I know when we have a full council meeting or something contentious, there's not enough parking.
So, yeah, no, the CAO's really driven me, Deputy Mayor, sorry, your worship, if I may.
Yeah.
The CAO's really driven me to have a look at that, so all the engineering's done in-house and all the contract administration's done in-house, which is quite a cost savings to help expand the parking lot and beautify our beautiful municipal building and the staff involved with it.
All right, can we move on to transportation services? And Mr. Fake, we're going to ask questions, so don't, never mind our facial expressions. We usually have to ask the questions, so.
Good evening, council. Public Works responsible for engineering, contract administration, waste, parks and rec, infrastructure, buildings and drainage. I'll give you a quick synopsis on the following of the taxation projects. Attached in the council package, in the budget package, you'll have a quick synopsis and breakdown. One is a business case and the other is an information page. Both of them will coincide for each. I'll speak off not from the reports, but from my head, and you can reflect back accordingly. Crack sealing, I think in the amount of 50,000. It's a pavement preservation technique.
Can you tell us what page you're going off of? Sorry.
I'm just speaking,
Okay.
Okay, well, I think what we want to do is go through the capital.
and that's,
Okay, all right, you started at the bottom
why
of the
don't-
list, I'm just restarting.
why don't I do, you guys, so your worship, you wanna follow me on, there's about, I have about 8 items. It's best.
Okay, see, we were going by this list?
Let's go by that list,
Okay,
Your worship. We're gonna go right from the top, we're gonna bring it down to 6th in session. So the 6th in session from Charlieville to County Road 18, we did a final lift on that. And we're gonna go down to our annual gravel maintenance program, which we should be well aware of. That'll be, a map will come out likely next budget meeting. They usually provide council with a general master map of where we're doing our pavement preservation, where we're applying our gravel. Plow truck, we're asking for another plow truck. We have one being dropped off this year. There's 3 left in Ontario for Freightliner. Augusta has secured the spot pending council's decision on moving forward. So I'm very proud to tell you that Little Wee Augusta has one of the 3 spots remaining in Ontario for the Freightliner. And it's for an aging 2010, a very aging 2010 plow truck that's really starting to show its age with repairs, breakdowns, and parts. Next is a sweeper. So we want to bring back in-house. We're finding contract prices are going up. We're kind of on the hook with a sweeping company schedule and their prices. And the sweeper we're bringing in-house will let us pretty much it will let us do the whole township at any time of the year. So if we have a spill of leaves in the fall, if we have some sand in in the spring. We can sweep that anytime, 24/7, in-house. Wood chipper. We have an aging wood chipper that's a PTO driven on a tractor. This one's a tow behind standalone. As we, unlike Rockville that wants to hire their own tree crew, Augusta, we want to be able to do it ourselves in-house. And it'll give us the opportunity to run 2 crews when we need it. Our chipper now is it's aging. It was from 98, from the ice storm. This one's a tow behind. It'll free up our tractor to mow and let us take that chipper anywhere we can go. The renovation, we're asking for a bit more for a top up on that. Pending council's blessing. I think we're at,
Crack ceiling, where you started.
I think we're at crack sealing. Crack sealing is a pavement preservation technique that we generally do throughout the township. We'll pick a set of roads. It's a great analogy of that mastic smear technique we did on Weir. So if you spend a bit of money, it'll save, give you a longevity on that road, extend that road pavement more. And basically to invest in your infrastructure, so you're not left with a big bang. It was a quick synopsis, council. I hope you understand that the business cases are there. The information should be presented in those. I'm also here for any scrutiny or questions or clarification.
They look at me for questions. I got a question on Diamond Bridge. I know we've had discussions on it a long time ago when I was on council before, and quite frankly, the importance of Diamond Bridge. But I know that the fact was the safety railing, but have we ever done a study on what that Diamond Bridge could still hold? I know some of the townships east of here, they put a safety warning on it, and I know when I mentioned that before, they said our plow truck couldn't cross it. Well, if that's the only thing, then that's maybe not so bad.
So it's a great question. Your Worship, can I respond to your council members on questions? So Diamond Bridge, it's long overdue for repairs. What we're doing is it's very similar actually process we did on Kyle and Clippo. We are extending the guardrails to meet current code. We're also installing the drywall. The chief and I have agreed to put a drywall in. And that's gonna let that go for 25 to 30 years, Deputy Mayor. If we don't spend it now, you start to deteriorate and your weight loads go down. So we have not done a weight limit study on it. Not sure we want to. Once we're done, we're done.
Okay.
I think the importance of council wants to understand, I did look at the options of bringing it forward to council, of closing it down. I don't think it's up in the north, I get it. It's important for many reasons.
Okay. Was there any place else in the budget that you could see? Like, the one thing I questioned was the repairs to the building. Is that feasible, or should we wait, put more money into it, and then do a new build?
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, are you referring to the renovations?
Yeah.
In the Public Works building?
Yeah.
So the renovations, it's been an ongoing thing. My CEO, I think he's lost 3 sleepless nights on this one. It's an interesting, so since we've tore down the sand dome, there's actually a beautiful space there now that if council's interested, another option to go is deferring it 1 more year, maybe creating a better plan. Renovations itself generally bring cost 40% more than a new build. So for every $1 million, if it was a reno, 400,000 that's actually tearing down and modifying things. So is council interested in maybe saving a bit this year? I'm not sure. It's an option, Deputy Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I have a couple. Now that you brought that up, wasn't that a grant?
So we have a grant, it's part of a grant, Mayor. So we have a grant that's set to expire this September for $100,000.
Right.
I would propose to council if they wanted to come back looking for some solutions. We want that grant, we will use that 100,000 inside alone. I believe you're well aware of the inside condition.
Yeah, I think what I read there earlier is that we'll have the grant, use that, and then another, I think it was 30 or 40,000 from taxation, right? Is that what I read somewhere? Or am I out to lunch there?
So I think the total is 425. I believe.
Oh, 425.
300,000 from taxation.
Okay, all right.
We would not lose the grant either way if we deferred the project. we would do internal renovations then.
Okay. All right, I'll just backtrack. Again, the meetings of your pavement or whatever, CCPF is what?
That's the Canada Community Building Fund, that's, used to be the gas tax.
And 180,000 for the annual gravel resurfacing. Is that just for gravel or is that labor and everything?
That's your total gravel program that we've been doing the last 4 years, 3 years I've been here, Mayor.
Question, Mayor?
And one more, okay. The sweeper. This is the sweeper, I take it, it goes in front of a half ton, right?
Our loader. Goes in front of our loader.
Your loader, okay.
A big,
Yeah, okay, yeah, your front end loader.
yes, your worship,
Okay, you wanna purchase that, right? The sweeper,
yes.
but it doesn't really, for example, like right now we have priors that come up the road, they wash it and everything else, take the gravel, sand away.
Not that I'm aware of, Mayor,
Well, they do it every year in my place anyway, but,
so I'm not aware of the washing part. I do know we hire sweepers at a cost of 10 to 12.
yeah, they have water, I thought they had water.
So they have water on, that's the controlled dust, your worship.
Yeah, yeah. It's washing it.
12 to 14,000 a year is that, sure, whatever his worship says, I'll agree with most times.
It's water.
Sure, so it's 12,000 a year annual if we hire a CP. You know what, we'll even say 8 to 10.
What I'm asking is will the sweeper do the same job as the ones we contracted?
Yes, it will, your worship.
But it doesn't, it would,
So we had a demo down here, your worship, this year. It has 2 water tanks on it. Does the exact same thing.
does it? Okay, all right. That's what, because I was thinking the ones I seen in the highway are just like that and the dust storm and,
So worship, I can say, you wouldn't notice a difference this year. If we did happen to purchase it, we come by. It would look very, very similar, if not the same, to one of the big sweepers that cost around 550,000.
okay. I just don't want to get into complaints from residents, oh, you know, where there's a dust storm, you know.
We're here to
That's
do
all.
our best for the majority,
Yeah.
worship.
All right, thank you. You got a question?
Yeah, you made me not forget my question. Just, he's gonna have to do it, he's just gonna have to sweep in the rain.
I'm glad me, let him sweat.
It's gone. Sorry, Brad.
Reach out, I don't
Yeah.
know how you wanna do it, your worship.
Well, this is just the start of it.
Oh,
The devil's in the detail.
I remember, I know what I
All
wanted.
right. Definitely.
Brad, is there any chance, and, or maybe Steve would know this, that we can get our gravel back from the pit on, Forsyth Road? We still own that pit, I think.
So that pit's, we'll be coming to council this year with some options on maybe, no. I don't mean to be blunt with you, Deputy Mayor, there's not right now is the information to tell you about, other than we've looked at all viable options of that pit, and we will be bringing a report forward in agreement with the counties to probably, cease and desist operations of that, remove our name.
Okay, because I know the local residents are quite interested if that pit gets going again, because they used to get some free gravel there.
As you're well aware, we don't give free gravel to anybody, but if they're looking for some assistance, tell them to call the fire department.
We're here to help.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. You want to come?
Worship, I just need to, that was transportation. I'd like to talk quick about waste and then rec. I just wanna get more, I need more money.
Yeah.
So our compactor's at a cost of 60? Well, the 100 total, so 60, so our 2 compactors are for the trash compactors at North Augusta transfer site and Maynard transfer site. One is owned by our current contractor. Both are beyond their life expectancy. It's a typical statement I've been making lately in my last 3.5 years in Augusta Township. we've gotten very fortunate with the equipment we have, including our waste compactors, so, it's really a need, not a want. And from environmental points and from an MTO standpoint, if we ever got pulled over on the road, we haul our bins down to Rockland, Moose Creek. And rec, we have some set aside for the committees. CAO, is that correct? I believe it's Maynard and Maynard, Northwestern, Roebuck and Maynard. So all our committees get I think a similar shared amount to CAO.
So that's on the operating side, this is the capital side though, so these are.
So, can we finish with the transportation first?
Yes, Your Worship.
Y'all, was that the only thing you had, hell, you're talking about the compactor?
Oh, for waste, that's all we have for waste.
So that brings up a discussion on, one, do we have the contractor get his own compactor and we rent offhand? Is a question. It also is a question, I know certain councillors were going around at campaign time and saying to do away with, with get home delivery pickup.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of questions around that. So, anyway, that may be one that we may want to tangle with on Monday.
Tangle away, Your Worship.
No, I'm just giving you a heads up. That's what I'm trying to do.
So we're certainly listening to council, and then we'll listen to your direction. Perhaps maybe Monday I can bring some more relevant information, moving forward.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. Recreation.
So recreation, we're only hitting the taxation on two, and that's our Maynard and Roebuck. We're looking for seven, what is it, Steve, 7 and 5? 7 and 5,000 respectively, and then obviously, just to make council aware, kind of jumping over our operations, which we shouldn't tonight. We each give the committees money, but we'll talk about that in operations, correct, CIO?
Yes.
Deal. What's the capital for, is that the water system?
What's that for recreation?
All diamonds? Is that the netting? Recreation is the netting, folks, so we have safety netting going around, we're proposing to council safety netting going around the ball diamonds, for example. So we're starting, we're getting there, I can assure you, we are behind. It's not to shock council, I think it's to tell council the truth and make them aware. But here we are making a plan moving forward, I think this year is gonna be a huge year for us all. Pending staff, remain in place and move forward together as one and, yeah, make things happen.
Okay, council, any questions for Mr. Vic? No, okay. We got no questions. All right.
Mayor, we've always run a good budget for 3.5 years, right?
And of course, the last one, if you want.
So the last part, I'll defer to our planner to talk about the need for our new OP and zoning bylaw.
For your worship, so it's proposed to transfer 100,000 from reserves, which I believe is from the modernization
Yes.
funding, to update our official plan and zoning bylaw. So the Planning Act does require us to update our official plan every 10 years. Our official plan was passed by previous council in 2010, so it is 13 years from the last OP. It does need to be brought up to date with the last provincial policy statement, which was in 2020, as well as the county official plan, which was passed in 2016. So those processes do take a bit of time and typically require the retention of a consultant to assist with the document preparation, the background studies, and the mapping. That's the proposed capital project to try to bring us into compliance and review our policies, including consent policies and all that. So that's been included as a capital project proposal.
Any comments? Yeah.
You said modernization fund, how much of that would be used out of fund and how much is out of?
I think it's.
It's gonna all be funded through the
It can all
modernization.
be funded, also no impact to the tax rate.
No.
Okay, thank you, that's great.
And just so council knows, this was totally neglected last term, by council. Like, we're one of 2 councils in the counties that do not have a proper official plan. So, what does that mean? That means when we go to say, okay, we'd like to put a subdivision here, we'd like to do this, they're gonna say, where's your official plan? So, it's very important we get this. In fact, it's on the top of my priority list. Okay, so, anyway, I just wanted to have those comments. Okay, CAO, anything?
So, I mean, that's, you know, kind of an introduction, a review of the capital projects. I know that council needs some time to kind of assimilate all the information, there's lots. So we're happy to answer any more questions. I really don't want to get into any departmental review this evening. I'd rather save that to start on Monday. But we're happy to answer any questions, or either tonight, or if you think of anything between now and Monday, please let us know, and we'll make sure that we have the proper information available on Monday.
I think just going through the capital here, we've given you some indication where we show concerns. So, you know, staff can take that back and take a look at it. And yeah, Monday we'll get together and talk about, you know, what we can do and how the budget's gonna look anyway. But any comments from the councilors?
I got one comment, Steve, in your opinion, how many more budget meetings do you think we need before we finalize it? Because the way it took long to get this one, and if we can't do it, finish it on the 6th, maybe we should set a couple of dates now that while we're all together and what we can do. Either days or nights, whatever works for a majority of council, and sometimes we can't all make it, but then that person can come up and see Steve himself and get caught up.
So, I mean, I guess I would work back from where we would like, or where I would like to propose that the budget be approved by council, which would be at the latest the second meeting in March, which is the 27th, I believe.
Yeah.
So working back from that, we have the 6th, we have a full day on the 6th, so what we'll do is we'll schedule each department manager to present and highlight their budget, answer any questions, clarification. And then, of course, council will want some time. There'll be some, probably some questions and comments that will be referred back to staff for further information. So, I mean, I would think that we would need at least another either half or 2 half days between next Monday and approval on the 27th. Unless council really likes what we're giving them, and then we'll be done on Monday.
Comments?
Well, I just got a question, would any of the other councilors have any time free on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday next week? Sometimes a lot easier to do it when you're all sitting here than what's your schedule look like?
I'm pretty much open. The 8th, I've got a meeting. Aside from that, I'm pretty much open next year.
You're good for the 7th, 9th, or 10th?
Yeah.
Mayor?
We talking nights or days?
Well, whatever works for everybody. It's either the nights or days on the 7th, 9th, or 10th. What's worked for you, Rochelle?
For me, the 7th and the 9th in the evening.
Okay, 7th and 9th evenings. That work for you, Tanya?
Mhm.
Does that work for you, Mayor?
Tuesday, yeah, evenings are pretty good.
7th and 9th?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does that sound, Steve?
Yeah.
The 7th and 9th? Can we book them in, and if we don't need them, it's easy to cancel one.
Agreed.
And it'll just be certain staff departments, right, for each night?
Well,
we'll see what we get through on
Yeah.
Monday, and then we can schedule
Yeah.
accordingly after that, yeah.
Because I know I had a little more questions in the detail, which will help me overall. But I know tonight's not the time to ask. Any other comments, questions?
For your worship, just to clarify, if we're doing it in the evening, does anybody have a problem, like how early we start, or? I know Michelle sometimes can't get here till 6:30,
The 6th, I could do 6, the 9th, or
7th or 9th.
the 7th, I could do 5:36, the 9th, I wouldn't be able to be here till 6:30.
Is that one for everybody else?
Yeah, evenings are fine for me.
6 on the 7th and 6:30 on the 9th?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Michelle.
When somebody sends out a reminder. Okay, anything else, Mr. McDonald? No? Yeah, a lot of red in there. What do you want to do with this one? Why don't you sign that? All right, so this is,
One.
all right, moved by Councillor Henry, seconded by Councillor Bowman. Be it resolved that council receive the preliminary budget and provide direction to staff. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And next one I'll have, moved by Councillor Henry and seconded by Councillor Pate. Be it resolved that this council do now adjourn at 19:55 until March 13th or 6th?
Next Monday.
March 6th.
March 6th at 9 a.m. Or to call the mayor subject to need. I'll call the question, all in favor? Carried? Yeah.
I can.
I don't want to.
Oh, yeah.